Imagine walking down a busy street in a crowded city. The sounds of traffic and people fill the air. Now, imagine that just below your feet there is another world. A silent world of long, dark tunnels, a labyrinth of rooms, hidden doorways, forgotten passages. This is not a story from a book. It is a real place. Beneath the bustling heart of Beijing lies a vast man-made cavern. It is an underground city built in secret. For decades its existence was known to few. Now parts of it are exposed, revealing a glimpse into a time of great fear and human effort. It is a world built to escape disaster, a monument to survival. This subterranean realm is known as Dixiacheng, which simply means the underground city. It was not built for convenience or for transport. It was built for one single, solemn purpose: to save millions from a catastrophe that seemed almost certain. The idea was to create a second city, a mirror image of the world above, one that could withstand the most destructive forces. To understand why this massive city was built, we must travel back in time. The year is 1969. The world was a very different place. The Cold War cast a long, dark shadow across the globe. Tensions between the world's great powers were incredibly high. China, under its leader Mao Zedong, found itself in a tense standoff with its powerful northern neighbor, the Soviet Union. A border dispute had escalated, and the threat of a full-scale war, possibly involving nuclear weapons, felt frighteningly real. The government believed that a surprise attack was not just possible, but likely. The safety of the population, especially in the capital city of Beijing, became the highest priority. Chairman Mao issued a stark directive to the nation. It was a call to action, summed up in a simple but powerful phrase: dig tunnels deep, store grain wide, never seek hegemony. This was not merely a suggestion, it was a national command. The plan was to prepare for the worst-case scenario. If bombs began to fall, the people of Beijing would need a safe place to retreat. The surface world would be a battlefield, so a new world had to be created below. The underground city was born from this fear. It was a direct, physical response to the threat of nuclear annihilation that haunted an entire generation. The project was a massive civilian effort. Ordinary citizens, not just soldiers or engineers, were called upon to contribute. The construction of the underground city was a monumental feat of human labor. In the early years, there was very little heavy machinery involved. The work was done almost entirely by hand. Imagine hundreds of thousands of volunteers, armed with little more than shovels and determination. They would dig into the hard, packed earth, chipping away at rock and soil. The debris was loaded into simple baskets or wheelbarrows and carried out piece by piece. It was slow, grueling work. The tunnels were often dark, dusty, and cramped. Yet the work continued, day after day, year after year, driven by a shared sense of purpose. Stories tell of neighbors working side by side. Children carried small loads of dirt, while adults handled the heavy digging. The work became part of daily life, and they worked in their spare time after regular jobs or on weekends. People felt they were not just building a shelter, they were building their own survival. There was a sense of pride in the work. They were building a fortress against fear itself. The tunnels were simple in design but incredibly resilient, typically 8 to 18 meters below the surface, deep enough to protect from blast and radiation. Walls were reinforced with concrete. With a high water table in many areas, they developed waterproofing and drainage to keep tunnels dry. It was a constant battle against nature, fought with basic engineering and tremendous effort, the ingenuity still visible today in the sturdy construction. It is difficult to truly comprehend the immense size of the Dixiacheng. Official figures are hard to come by, but it is estimated the network stretches for more than 85 square kilometers beneath Beijing's city center. To put that into perspective, larger than the island of Manhattan. The tunnels link nearly all central districts of Beijing, connecting government buildings, commercial areas, and residential neighborhoods. The plan was for the network to be so extensive, It could house the city's entire population, around 6 million people, in the event of an attack. The cost is staggering. There was no official budget. Work spanned years with volunteer labor and state resources. Modern economists estimate the scale as high as $300 billion. Not a bill, but a measure of labor, materials, and engineering invested. Main arteries are wide enough to allow small vehicles and large groups to move quickly. Underground boulevards with smaller side passages. Some tunnels run so long they lead to military bases, others to government command centers on the outskirts. It was designed as a self-contained world, movement and communication without the surface. Many cities have subways and utility tunnels. Few have a purpose-built shelter on this scale, more than passageways, a planned environment for habitation. Often called the Underground Great Wall, like the original protected against invaders, this one guarded against a modern airborne threat. The underground city was designed to be more than just a temporary bunker. It was a blueprint for a functioning society capable of sustaining itself for months. The planners thought of everything. In preserved sections, you can see spaces allocated for all the necessities of life. Thousands of small numbered rooms intended as dormitories. Stark concrete cells fitted with bunk beds and basic furniture. Entire families would live in compact spaces, mirroring the community structure above. Beyond living quarters were spaces for cooking, dining, schools, small clinics, hospital wards and operating theatres. Even recreation, basketball courts, a movie theatre, a roller skating rink, to maintain morale and normalcy under stress. The city had infrastructure. Complex ventilation with over 2,300 sealable vents, wells for clean water, grain storage and preserved foods, essential supplies, dedicated power networks with generators for lighting and machinery, a sealed ark beneath the earth. There were signs of commerce, shops, barbers, tailors to keep an underground economy moving. Planners considered not just survival but social structure. People need routine, purpose and interaction. It was an attempt to preserve the fabric of life, even in the face of total destruction. It was a world waiting to be born, fully formed in the darkness. It really was that, fully imagined and ready. Over the years, the secrecy surrounding the Dixiacheng has given rise to many myths and exaggerated stories. Because so little was officially confirmed, imaginations ran wild. Claims of a vast, futuristic metropolis with high-speed trains and secret military technology. Sensationalist videos often show unrelated footage, then claim it is part of this hidden world, painting a picture of an active underground civilization. The truth is both less dramatic and more interesting. The Dixiacheng was never fully completed or occupied as intended. As the Soviet threat subsided in the late 1970s, construction slowed. It was never put to the ultimate test, never used to house millions during a nuclear attack. Ambitious features like underground highways were never realized. The network is a patchwork, finished sections and rough, incomplete passages. Another myth says people secretly live down there today. Some spaces were repurposed. Cheap lodging in the 1980s, storage, even small hotels or markets, but no evidence of a permanent hidden population. These uses were informal and phased out for safety. The secret, ongoing society is fiction. Most importantly, the Dixiacheng is a historical artifact, a product of a specific time and fear, a window into the past. The real story is not hidden armies or sci-fi tech. It is the collective will of ordinary people who moved millions of tons of earth to build a shelter for families and neighbors. Their hard work and sacrifice more compelling than any myth. As the fear of war faded, the purpose of the underground city began to change. For a long time it remained under military control, its tunnels largely empty. Entrances were sealed, guarded, and the network remained a state secret. By the early 2000s, attitudes began to shift. A small, sanitized section opened to the public. The secret shelter became a tourist attraction, carefully prepared, cleaned, lit, and made safe. Guides were trained to lead designated routes. Visitors walked concrete corridors, peered into dormitories, and saw original equipment. massive blast doors and faded portraits of Chairman Mao. It became a popular historical destination, but public access has been inconsistent. The official site opened and closed several times. As of 2025, the main tourist entrance is closed for renovations. On-again, off-again access deepens the mystery. Why is access hard to maintain? Are sensitive areas nearby? Closures fuel speculation, but more likely it comes down to safety, maintenance, and funding. The underground city hasn't vanished from public life. Entrances linger in basements of shops and hotels. Some businesses use tunnels as quirky storage or integrated space. For the most part, the network lies dormant and inaccessible, a quiet giant sleeping beneath the city. Its brief public spectacle has ended for now, leaving silence and darkness, waiting for its next purpose. To step into a preserved section of the Dixiacheng is to step back into the 1970s. The atmosphere is thick with history. Because the tunnels were sealed and largely untouched for decades, many original features remain perfectly preserved, a massive time capsule, faded signs and posters, authentic voices of the past, written in styles rarely seen today. Old bunk beds, crates, canned food, medical supplies, glass medicine bottles, and vintage surgical tools still sit where they were placed. Most poignant are the personal touches, an old film poster, a child's drawing, reminders this place was intended for people, for families, for children. Technology of the era stands frozen. Electrical mazes and heavy-duty switches, bare bulbs in wire cages, hand-cranked ventilation in case power failed, old telephones and radios. Seeing this helps us appreciate the builders' ingenuity. A functional city made with the tools they had, a museum of Cold War-era engineering. This sense of being frozen in time is powerful. Above, Beijing has transformed into a futuristic metropolis of glass skyscrapers and high-speed trains. But down here, time has stood still. The same cool, damp air, the same rough concrete mixed by hand. A reminder that beneath our modern world, the past is never truly gone, just waiting in the quiet and the dark to be rediscovered. Soft breath. So what is the ultimate truth of China's $300 billion underground city? It is not the hidden, populated metropolis of myth, nor is it merely an empty, forgotten relic. The reality lies somewhere in between, a monumental testament to a nation's fear and its capacity for collective action. A physical manifestation of Cold War anxieties when the end felt possible. A rational, if extreme, response to an existential threat that provided a sense of security to people and government alike. Its legacy is complex. Vast time, labor, and resources poured into a catastrophe that never came. From one view, a colossal waste. From another, a symbol of resilience and preparedness. Communities gained shared purpose, skills and unity, values hard to price. Today we face new threats, climate change and pandemics. How do we prepare? The underground city shows one approach, a grand, centralized physical defense, and reminds us to plan ahead. But it also shows limits. A city built for nuclear war isn't necessarily useful for floods or a virus. What does true resilience mean now? Ultimately, the Dixiacheng is a story about humanity, our instinct to protect our families and communities, and our ability to organize and build at scale. Hidden and quiet as it is, its story is powerful. A city built not for living, but for surviving. A silent reminder of how close we came to the edge, and the extraordinary lengths we will go to in order to pull back.